Hello, everybody. Welcome to our CakeFu Master Series. Today we are really excited. We've got a wonderful pastry chef with us. It's not a normal occurrence for us to have a pastry chef on. So usually we've got cake decorators, and they're very talented, extremely talented. But today we're going in the way of sugar work, and so we have Chef Charity Pykles-George with us, and I'm really excited to have you here with us, Charity. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay. For those of you that don't know much about Charity, we're going to help you guys figure it all out. So here is all about Charity. So Charity, you started out as a child. You did baking with your family and learned how to do some things that way. Started out selling cakes. Oh, something's going on with my. Sorry. My screen's not changing. But you know what? Let's just go ahead and talk about you, and I'll see if I can work that out. You were actually selling cakes by the time you were 18. You want to talk about, how that all came about?
Sure. If anybody's familiar with Kathleen Lange, I call her the queen of all things Lambeth. And it's kind of funny that she went the way of really old school methods. I'm even like dating back to Marie Antoinette. And I've done more newer stuff. But like you and I were discussing before we started here, I've even discovered that ostrich eggs are allergen free compared to chicken eggs. So yeah. Who knew?
I had to mute myself. Okay, very cool, very cool. Well, you are naming off this whole list of things that your kids are allergic to, and that just, having a pastry background, a culinary background, I'm sure it has been such a huge help to you in your career. So, and in your family life. That's just
absolutely.
There we go.
Cool. There's the slide.
Yeah. Charity, if you click on that slide,
sure.
it will be the main screen for you, and it'll be easier for you to see what's there.
Perfect.
Sorry about that, guys. We just had my computer froze on me, so luckily I have 3 of them here. so I was able to stay with you.
Apparently, my technological issues this week are contagious because now I'm infecting you.
Well, it happens to everybody. So, all right. So, also, you have done some TV stuff. You want to talk about your competitions and appearances that you've been able to do?
That'd be awesome. I competed in 2 episodes of The Ultimate Cake Off. It was the first episode of season 2 and the final episode of season 2. Both were wedding cakes, where all of my friends got to compete in all these fun, crazy, other kinds of events. I got stuck with the wedding cakes. And I did too. The fun stuff. Nothing against weddings. I love them, even though I'm divorced. But wedding cakes, I can do them, like anybody else. But I really love the fun, crazy cakes. And so it was kind of ironic that I had to do 2 wedding cakes. Anyway, later on, I got to do Halloween Wars, which was way up my alley, and Cake Wars, which was actually supposed to be the premiere episode of what's now Sugar Dome, but then they changed the format so much, apparently, that they just aired what they filmed with us as a special called Cake Wars. So.
Oh, I see. I wondered about that because I saw the Cake Wars, and then I saw the Sugar Dome, and I was like, well, are they going to have 2 different shows now?
Yeah, right. I know it's similar, but I guess they felt like they changed it enough that they didn't want to air it as the premiere, so that's okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, that's amazing that you've had such huge opportunities in that area, and that's, congratulations.
I've been incredibly blessed. I honestly, a lot of my background in the entertainment industry already, knowing how all this stuff works, knowing all the lingo, just having been on enough sets, and then also having been in radio. When they go to do my interviews, they're super fast. I know what they're looking for. I know what they want. And so, to be quite honest, production companies like working with me because I'm not a newbie to their field. And so word's kind of spread fast because it's a small community. Everybody talks, everybody works with everybody else. So I've been very, very blessed and fortunate because I've also done fabulous cakes where they came out to the bakery that I was working at the time before I started my own and filmed there. And then once I was on my own, the Niecy Nash Wedding Bash people called and asked me to do a cake for that show. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool.
Very cool. Sorry if you guys see me drink some water along the way. I've got a tickle in my throat. I hope I don't start coughing on all of you guys. So, all right. Oh, and we need to talk about Icing Smiles. I know last week we had Ann Heap on, and she is on the board of directors for Icing Smiles. And as luck would have it, Charity is also.
Yay!
So we're kind of making a theme out of the whole deal. So tell us about Icing Smiles and how you work with them and anything special you might want to add.
Well, let's see, it was at the ISIS in North Carolina. And Ruth Rickey, if you are familiar with her, she has the same exact leukemia that my daughter has. So she and I are BFFs. And she introduced me to the gals that started Icing Smiles. And they got about 2 sentences into their pitch, and I just stopped them. I said, stop, hold up, I'm in. No more, you don't understand anything more, I'm in. What can I do?
No convincing needed.
Yeah, no convincing needed. So they, I guess it was like 2 months later, they actually invited me to be on the board of directors. I am their one medical mom, also as a pastry chef and cake artist. Elisa Strauss and Ann Heap are also cake artists on the board, and there's a few others. But it's been so amazing to give back in the medical community, which I understand and get, and be able to interact with these families that, although their kids have different situations, different illnesses than my kid, we can talk and we can, they can tell me their story and they know I get it, which has been really a special experience for me and for them, which has been really fun. And I'm able to give back through my skills and talents because my kids get $1,000 birthday cakes by default because I'm not paying somebody else to do that. I'm just doing it myself. And so my kids get spectacular birthday cakes. But not everybody gets that. And with all the cake shows on and Ace of Cakes and Cake Boss and stuff, these kids sit there in the hospitals and stuff, and they love watching the Food Network and TLC and all these other shows. And to be able to get a cake that's similar to like they see on TV, that's this really fantastic cake, it boosts their spirits so much. It's just spectacular. It's nothing short of spectacular.
It really does.
It's really awesome.
We are so lucky to have the Icing Smiles, and I hope that everybody, whether you have an actual cake business or you're just a hobbyist, there are different states that are allowed to have hobbyists, do cakes.
Absolutely.
So check with them. Just apply to be, an Icing Smiles angel is what they call you, a sugar angel. And just go and apply and find out if you can.
Go to icingsmiles.org and sign up as a baker, or if you know of a medical family that could benefit from a cake, you can direct them to the website and they can go on and apply to get a cake. So, or if you want to just donate, we're happy to. It's amazing. Being on the board, I'm getting the back end of how much these things cost to run a nonprofit organization. You have to pay fees in every state that you function in, and there's so many government fees and so many costs involved in just trying to do good for others. It's It's been mind-blowing, really. I'm getting quite an education being on the board and all of this stuff. And it takes a lot of money to do this. So even if you can't contribute maybe otherwise, feel free to go on and donate to the cause so that we can continue to get bigger and bigger. We're only a 3-year-old organization. We did our 2000th cake a couple months ago. There was a tweet about that a couple months ago. But you can also follow them on Twitter and Facebook. It's Icing Smiles. And yeah, do whatever you can.
Yes, absolutely. We love Icing Smiles here. So great. Well, let's go ahead and get on with our with the training. Today we're talking about basically what is in your Craftsy class that, oh, we didn't talk about your Craftsy class.
Oh, bad.
Yeah. So I said at the very beginning, for those of you that weren't with us yet, Charity just released a Craftsy class today, and so it's a really good one. I actually got to see it last night, which was really fun.
You stayed up.
So I did. Well, I actually watched half of it last night and the other half this morning as I was getting everything ready for the training. So. But it's really good, very informative, and oh gosh, I'm pulling out my sugar today. so yeah, but Charity's going to be teaching this, or well, she has this Craftsy class out now about Isomalt, about sugar, and so she is going to tell us a little bit about the Isomalt medium and get us all ready so that we can go and do some sugar work. So, yay! All right, so to start off, we're going to ask you, what is Isomalt? How is it different from sugar? And, you know, what are the benefits and things like that? So.
Great. All right. Well, Isomalt is sugar. It is sucrose. It has just had a couple of enzymes changed in it. It's gone through a hydrogenated process. I know the word hydrogenated has this terrible like feeling about it. People are freaked out about it, but when it comes to something other than fat, it's fine. Isomalt's not a fat. So anyway, so it is sugar, but because it's gone through this process, this 2-part process of being somewhat changed, it does not attract moisture the way sugar does, which makes it fantastic for our purposes because we can then utilize it within pastry and on cakes and such and not have this sticky goo of a mess that sugar can turn into, real sugar. It makes it great for diabetics. Actually, it's used quite a bit in the diabetic industry. It has half the calories of sugar and has half the glycemic index of sugar.
Can you just eat? I mean, because I know that a lot of people don't work with Isomalt because we've heard people say that it's not edible. So what's the story there? I mean, clearly people are using it.
Yeah, all the diabetics in the world might have something to say about that. No, it's absolutely edible. And the thing is that similar to the substitute fats that were out there that they made chips with and stuff, and they tell you don't eat a lot of it. It's the same thing with Isomalt. If you eat more than a couple ounces of it, which frankly that's actually kind of a lot, but if you eat more than a couple ounces of it, you can have some intestinal distress, for a G-rated term. I don't want to get too ugly. But yeah, so you just want to be careful how much you eat of it. But when I'm eating a sugar glass, because I'm drinking out of it and showing how you can eat the glass and stuff, absolutely you can eat it. You bet.
Good. Well, that puts our minds at ease and all of that.
It does not caramelize and brown the way sugar does, normal sugar does, because of that carbon molecule that's been changed in it. So we can get it to 340, 360 degrees without it turning color. As long as you use the proper kind of water and really clean tools, because any kind of minerals or impurities that you get to that level of heat, those are going to start to turn color. So you have to keep those out of your medium as you're cooking it. But yeah, you can keep it clear, which is wonderful because it's a super strong just like in candy cooking principles, how you cook things to, softball and hardball and hard crack stage kind of stuff. It's a similar principle with Isomalt. You want to cook it to hard crack and even higher, and then you have a really strong medium. But luckily you've kept it clear instead of at like 240 or something is when, or even lower is when sugar starts to turn brown on you.
Well, you mentioned the right kind of water. What is the right kind of water?
You want to use distilled water because distilled water has had all the minerals taken out of it. It is strictly water. And so you don't want to use even spring water or filtered water, any of that. Distilled water works the absolute best. And your utensils need to be clean. You need to use stainless steel. Make sure your pot is clean. And then in the class, it talks a lot about what type of heat you use, whether it's an induction burner, a gas burner, or electric burner, and the different things you need to do for all of those things. But you'll have to take a class, to get all that stuff, because that's a lot to go into here.
Yeah,
but
there's so much information on there. You're right.
Yeah. So you want to, but there's different ways, and I cover it all. So that whatever your situation, hopefully I've covered something for you.
Yeah. Well, and if you have questions, the great thing about Craftsy is you can go on and ask, and
isn't that
answer,
cool?
right?
I think that's so cool. I know.
Yep. Very nice. All right. This is another example of it not, browning or caramelizing. So you can do cool stuff like this, like these champagne
edible glasses. Yeah.
So cool. And you do talk about these edible glasses, and you actually show how to do it in this Craftsy class.
Correct. So. Yes. Yep.
Very fun. Isn't that a really fun, cake separator? That's just really awesome.
I'm so excited about sugar tier separators and all the different ways I'm coming up with creating them, because it's just it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different look for wedding cakes. So it's really fun. It
is. That is super cool. All right. So now there is out there the pre-baked Isomalt that you can purchase, and then you have like the little granulated kind of Isomalt that's not pre-baked. So what's the difference, and how do you work between the two of them, and why would you use one over the other?
Got it. Thanks for asking that question. Okay, so the pre-cooked, pre-colored Isomalt that CakeFu sells, and a couple other companies, they sell them in the nibs, so you just pour them into a Pyrex and melt them down in your microwave, or pour them into a pot and melt them down. And those are fantastic. You can have every color of the rainbow on hand and all the different packages. Very convenient and really excellent for a lot of things. What they're not excellent for is like the make your own molds bead molds, Marina's bead molds, because those holes are so tiny that you have to get the Isomalt into. The viscosity or the thinness or thickness of the liquid, that's what viscosity means for anybody that doesn't know. On pre-cooked, they've cooked Isomalt with no water. And so they have simply heated Isomalt, which starts off, like you said, as a granulated white powder. I tease that it looks like Tide minus the blue crystals, so you got to be careful. You don't accidentally use it as laundry detergent.
That would be a bit of a mess.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit sticky. So that, anyway, when you cook it yourself and you cook it with some water in it to start, even though, through the cooking process, all that water steams off, but there is still a tiny amount of water left in it, which allows that Isomalt to be thinner in viscosity when it's warm, when it's at like 295 degrees, which is what you want to pour beads at, so that it is thin enough to get in those tiny holes in those molds, so that it will create your gems, and you're not going to come up with like half-filled gems, which is really, really frustrating. I mean, I've done a chandelier cake or two, and you have to have a lot of molds, and you better get each pour right on, because the time it takes to get all those done and get them out, and you better hope that every one of them is poured correctly, because it takes way too much time otherwise. So trying to take out the guesswork for you, don't use pre-cooked and pre-colored isomalt when you're trying to do those things or any other kind of like tiny mold.
Little, okay.
It's fine for pulling, fine for blowing, fine for creating a whole lot of things, but it's not quite perfect for everything. So.
Okay. And do you personally use like the pre-made ever, or do you just use the isomalt, the non-cooked?
I cook my own a lot for the most part, but I do use cake clay, and I have all their stuff on hand all the time. And you know, if I'm out of green per se, but I have my green cake clay on hand, I can melt it up really quick and throw something together. So it's crazy convenient. It's really good on the convenience scale. So I do highly recommend it for that. And for people starting out, you know, cooking it might be a little scary. It might be a little, even after you watch the class and I show you everything about how to do it, you still might want to just start with ordering some cake clay and starting off with, you know, the bare minimum of equipment and necessities, and just get playing with it. Just get your hands on it because it's so much fun.
Awesome. Well, good. Nice to know a little bit about the difference between the two, because I know that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
All right, and then to get started, you know, all those of us that really want to get into sugar, I know I have been, you know, dying to get my hands on all the sugar stuff. I went out and bought myself a light and the mat and the, you know, I have everything. It's all ready to go. So, but how about you tell everybody what they will need to get started, things that, you know, just are mandatory, or, you know, things that are convenient, or different ways to get around the things that, you know, maybe they can't afford.
Awesome. Okay, well, I believe that you can start off with working with sugar really inexpensive. I know any of us that do cake, you understand, oh my goodness, all this junk I have to store, all these molds, all these cake pans, all these colors and glitters and lusters. Oh my goodness, it becomes a storing nightmare. I totally get that. If I showed you around my studio, you'd be like, Metro racks packed full of stuff. Anyway, so I think just with some a Silpat, or the silicone baking mats, and a Pyrex measure, which is a glass measure that's able to go in and out of the microwave and take heat, and some good thick medical gloves. And let's see if I can see from here. There's some good medical gloves. They're the 12-inch high up your wrist. So you want to protect your wrist. You want to. I have a safety guide in the Craftsy class about protecting yourself. And I know a lot of people freak out about the heat, but you wouldn't reach into your 350-degree oven without a hot mitt. It's the same kind of thing. You know, you use protection against heat. And there's some really nice thick blue medical gloves that you can double up, triple up if you need to. I started off with just some thinner nitrile gloves when I was in culinary school, and I did 5 layers at a time because it's hot, you know, and after you work with it for a couple hours, your hands start getting kind of raw. So the more gloves to protect your hands, the better. But then I went to the really thick black sugarwork gloves that are made for sugarwork. You can get those from Chef Rubber, which is chefrubber.com, and go to their sugarwork area on their website. They have little liners that are inside them. I call them my Poindexter gloves because they look kind of like your Poindexter. And so those will protect you. Those are great. But if you don't want to put, you know, money into that, you can just get the medical gloves and layer them on, and just working in and out of a microwave. Maybe the next higher level price point would be you can use an electric pancake griddle and put a Silpat on top of that, and let your already pulled sugar or your pre-cooked cake play stuff sit on that and warm, and, you know, put it on the lowest setting so that it doesn't become like liquid. But you can use that for heat underneath. You can just get what's pictured here in this slide. You see this ceramic. You don't want the plastic kind because that doesn't handle this kind of heat good enough. But the ceramic coupler with a cord on top, you can just go to your hardware store and get that really easy. Put in a 250-watt heat bulb, and you can clamp that to the what is it, to the handle of your cabinets in your kitchen and let it dangle down above your countertop. I would just make sure you have like a wood or silicone cutting board underneath that to protect your countertop, especially if you have granite, marble, any kind of acrylic countertop that doesn't do heat very well. So, you know, make sure you protect your kitchen. And so you can do that. There's little butane torches. You don't necessarily have to do the kitchen torch. That's more expensive. There is the argument between what's food safe and what's not. My opinion personally is that most people don't eat these things. If you are in a professional environment, then by all means make sure everything you have is NSF and everything you have is food grade, and you know, make sure you comply with all the OSHA everything so that you don't get in trouble. But if you're just starting to work with this stuff in your own kitchen or your own cake studio or whatever, you know, go about it as cheap as possible. And then as you get into it more and more, you can invest more and more money as it becomes profitable to you. You can get a little butane torch from Harbor Freight Tools for $8. And, you know, the butane's just a couple dollars. That's easy. You can jump to the propane torch, which you get from your hardware store with a propane tank. So there's just, and then you can go all the way, what's pictured here, to the expensive sugar warming boxes that have the special food grade acrylic and fireproof, heat-proof, special board that everything's made out of that's all food grade. And you can get pretty expensive in your investment if you want to. And then you can get to my level where you teach this stuff and you have like 5 of these sugar boxes.
Yeah.
Go, oh my goodness. Dollar signs.
Exactly. You see how much all this adds up to be.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. But no, I mean, but it's worth it because then I get to be right there with people and help them side by side get their hands on this stuff and start creating things. But I'm excited about the Craftsy class because I can't be everywhere. I've got 3 kids and I can only travel so much a year. And so the Craftsy platform is really exciting to me because they can interact with me on the platform and ask me questions, and they get to get a whole bunch of instruction that I usually give in a hands-on person-to-person class, but they get it, you know, in their time and on their schedule, and they own it forever. They get to go back and forth and jump around if they want to. And I think it's such a fantastic thing to get to more people than I can personally get to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one thing just watching your thing yesterday, one feature that I really like about Craftsy is their 30-second replay. You know, if you miss something, you're like, oh, what did she do? You just click on a button. It takes you back 30 seconds. And it'll actually keep replaying that same 30 seconds for you if you want. So
that's cool.
That's really pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. So yeah, there's also on the Craftsy thing there, you have a place where you have like a list of all the items that you use and where you can purchase them. So if anybody really wants to get really into this and has, you know, that you want to know where Charity got everything and where you can get everything, she has, you know, links to everything that you can go and get stuff, so which is wonderful.
Yeah, there's the safety guide, the supply guide, and then the buying guide. So all of those things, and then there's also a whole tutorial you can print out if you want to about cooking it, and so you can like take that with you if you don't want to take your computer with you into the kitchen, but you can take that with you and kind of like do a check off as you're cooking it for the first time yourself.
Perfect. Awesome. And okay, so here's another aspect of sugar is the blowing the sugar. So does this take a lot of equipment? You know, what is involved with this? You know,
I learned personally with the it looks like a blood pressure cuff bulb with a wooden tip or a copper tip on the end with a long tube. That's how I learned originally in culinary school. And it always seemed really awkward to me. It was kind of a struggle. It was a little tough. I mean, I got it down. I had to practice a lot. And then when I went and worked with my mentor, Andre Renard, who's an amazing pastry chef from France, he taught me how to use a PVC tube, a thin little PVC tube that's pennies at a hardware store, literally pennies. And you know, if you need to chop off the end, big deal. I mean, instead of like instead of like shredding the wood on this expensive, you know, sugar work tool. If you're in a professional environment and you have to have everything NSF and food safe, I know there's specific tubing out there you can use that's used for like water line, for refrigerators and stuff like that. So just be careful what kind you get if you're in a professional environment. Otherwise, I love it because you're blowing air with your mouth, but you have two hands to work with. So right here, I'm using both my hands to manipulate this ball, and I'm controlling the air more with my mouth, which I have more control over than a bulb I'm pumping. And so it's way easier for students to pick up first time off. Every class I teach in this, the people, as they get started blowing sugar, they cannot believe how fast they get the hang of it. I mean, it's because everybody thinks, oh my gosh, blowing sugar, that's so hard, that's so scary. And
because it looks amazing. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many cool things you can do with it and create out of it. But it's so easy when you just use this tube and you blow. I know there's the argument of, well, you're blowing moisture because you have breath. You're blowing moisture into your sugar. It's so minute, it doesn't matter. It's fine. And Isomalt can handle a tiny bit of moisture. That's why it was created. I mean, it's, you know, it resists moisture. That's why it's Isomalt and not sugar.
Okay. All right. And this right here, we're going to talk a little bit about when you'll actually use Isomalt. I know that a lot of people have this idea that, you know, Isomalt is only used in sugar sculptures like this, you know, and when will you ever use that when you're a cake decorator? So we've got a whole bunch of examples that you've shared with us on, you know, different ideas and things that you can do with Isomalt. So, and some of these ideas are really awesome. So,
well, thank you. This is actually a little sugar sculpture that one of my students made after having only 4 hours of sugar instruction. So he created this after having 1 4-hour class of hands-on sugar, and then the next class, the next 4 hours, I let them use all the techniques I taught them, and they get to create their own under-the-sea sugar sculpture. And it's, I mean, I'm in San Diego, California. There's no market here for big sugar sculptures like you see on Food Network in the big sugar competitions, the World Pastry Forums, and all that stuff. In Vegas and maybe on cruise ships, the two places I know of that people actually make those, and all it is art that happens to be edible because nobody even comes close to eating it. And they're so gorgeous, and the people that do those are so fantastic. I have a lot of respect for them, but I can't sell that, and I'm in the business of selling cakes. So my whole thing is let the medium, or like whatever whatever you need to be making, use the correct medium to actually make that particular piece. So in other words, for gems, use sugar, right? Don't make gems out of fondant or gum paste and then try to make them look like gems. Use sugar because it's clear. It looks like a gem. You know, for water, pour Isomalt over ice. You know, there's so many different things. For glassware, obviously, for bottles, there's so many things that you can use Isomalt for that are way better. I tease James Roselle every time he and I get together that I still want to challenge him to a race in making flowers, me and sugar and him and gum paste, and he always laughs. He'll win every time because it's so fast to make flowers out of sugar, actual Isomalt pulled sugar, rather than waiting forever for gum paste to dry. And it's a very different look, but sugar flowers are, you know, Isomalt pulled sugar flowers are just money. I mean, because they're so shiny and beautiful, and I believe that sugar work, more than any other medium, creates the wow factor on cakes. There's nothing else that has that sheen, that has the beauty, that has the ability to create the things it creates. I mean, even gelatin bubbles don't look as fantastic as blown sugar bubbles. They come close. I'll give them that. They do
come
close.
close.
They come close, but they also don't hold up as well as a blown sugar ball. So like this is an under the sea wedding cake, and it has blown sugar bubbles all over it. And I mean, it creates just a really stunning look. It's really fantastic.
I love this. I love the look of it. It's just so fun.
This has bubble sugar on top too, it's a plate of sugar that has little bubbles all in it that I also talk about at the end of the Craftsy class, a whole bunch of other techniques that can be used and done with sugar that we will hopefully do in a second level Isomalt class after we see how this Craftsy class does and how people receive this one.
That would be really awesome.
Yeah.
We always like more, right?
Yeah. This one has pressed sugar flowers, and I talk about how to do that too with press molds from your companies like New York Cake and Chef Rubber, and so you make your own molds doesn't do press molds, but there's quite a few people out there that do the press molds, which is the 2-part molds. So you put a piece of sugar in between the molds and press it, and then when it's still warm, you can manipulate it more and create sugar flowers like this.
I watched that and I was like, oh, that's so easy looking. Oh my gosh.
It's very,
and you look at it,
very simple.
It looks so complex, but I watched it last night and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks so easy. I could totally do that.
See, the fun thing actually about the Craftsy class is I'm hoping at least, and you all have to tell me after you watch it and give me some feedback, but I'm hoping it really demystifies the medium for you, because it has such a stigma of being this scary, hot thing. Granted, it is hot, but it's not scary. It's not scary at all.
Well, and I like how you said that, as far as people are so careful about not burning themselves, and you said that you end up cutting yourself with the sugar more than you do burning yourself.
Absolutely.
Just because it's sharp, so.
When it breaks, it's as sharp as glass, and I have literally been cut more than burnt by it.
All right. So if you're careful, it's good. And I love is the grass on that? Is that sugar too? Is that pulled sugar?
The grass that's on the actual cake is that's fondant.
Oh, is that fondant?
That's fondant that's been cut into shreds. But what's really funny, this was actually a wedding in Alaska, and they were putting in new sod at the wedding location, and I was there, checking out the location the day before the wedding, and so I grabbed a piece of sod from the guys that was left over, and I put it under the cake table really quick so I could use it as part of the cake display, because I thought this is going to look so cool under the cake. So that's literally a piece of sod that then has upside down wine glasses that have oranges and limes inside, and then it's on a plate glass cake board, and then it has cookie and graham cracker crumb dirt, because they wanted this organic look but still kind of geometric, kind of a hybrid look. But anyway, cool. So I also teach classes in cake boards and cake displays, and this is a perfect example. People that put their cakes on a $3 bakery board, it's a continuation of your art, and you need to make it so. And I like to say, would you put the statue of David on a wood pallet? No, you would not.
Exactly.
Michelangelo would turn over in his grave. So,
no foil.
Yeah, so don't do it to your art. Make sure your art is displayed appropriately, because it is art, and all the time and effort you've put into it, don't just slap it on something ugly.
I could not agree
there's my
more.
public service announcement.
I could not agree with you more. All right, this one's really awesome.
This was fun. This was done for a wedding company that is a Gothic Halloween-themed wedding company that the guy who played Eddie Munster in The Munsters has created here in California. And so there is gelatin blood coming out of the black lace. The wrought iron fencing around the bottom layer is sugar, and the spiders are all sugar. I did some marbled sugar in the medallion that's then painted with cocoa butter. And then it's a black pulled sugar flower with then a gum paste skull. And then, of course, it's tons and tons of airbrushing and all sorts of fun stuff there. So, but yeah, this was a fun cake.
That's really cool. And I love how all of the mediums come together and work so well. I mean, you've got your fondant, you've got your gum paste, you've got your sugar work,
Gelatin even on this one, because there's gelatin, gelatin spider webs and the
oh
gelatin
yeah.
blood that's pouring out of the that second tier there, out of the lace holes. It
Uh-huh.
looks like the cake is oozing blood.
That's so cool.
So gross. But it
What a
does look
wonderful.
cool.
And wouldn't that be just a cool Halloween wedding, because I know a lot of people do Halloween weddings, do
It's, yeah, the
Halloween
people
things.
are really into it and the zombie thing and whatnot.
It's
So
huge right now.
yeah, it is. So I'm like, okay, I can do that.
Cool. Very cool.
So
All
again,
right.
let the medium dictate, what it can be used for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here we've got a watch. And
And the
that's
glass is sugar,
uh-huh.
as it should be.
As it should be. And it makes it look so realistic. I know that a lot of people would just leave it as, the face of the watch with nothing over it, but you throw that piece of ice malt on it. Wow, it just,
It
makes
just
such a
takes it
huge
to another
difference.
level, right? It
Yeah.
takes it to a whole nother level. And people looked at that watch and they thought, why did she put a real Rolex in there? I mean, but yeah, that's one of the biggest compliments I get besides, hey, your cakes taste amazing, is, oh my gosh, I thought that was the real thing. So, and I'm sure many of you out there feel the same way, that that's like one of the best compliments we can get is, wow, I thought that was the real deal.
It absolutely
I think
is.
it was edible.
It absolutely is. And so, yeah. See, we're trying to convince you guys all that isomalt is really important as a cake decorator.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Now, this was the cake that I did for the Niecy Nash Wedding Bash. It's a chandelier cake. All those beads, those strings of beads were all isomalt. The gems on it are all isomalt. And then that flour is about a 16-inch round diameter pulled sugar flour. It
Wow,
was
that's big.
massive. Yes.
That's
Well,
heavy, isn't it? How did you get it to stay in there?
well, I had the core of the flour built around a dowel. It was all,
Hmm.
melted onto a dowel, and then each individual petal that then was around there was each on its own individual wooden stick, apple sticks. And
Oh, okay.
so I had the core kind of bud, if you will, in the middle that stuck on, that wasn't too heavy, and then each individual petal went on separate, so that they each had their own thing into a posy pick, so it had some strength going into the cake. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so that, I mean, again, there's physics involved in a lot of cake, as we know, and I don't
Yeah.
know about anybody else. I wish I'd paid better attention in math class. Never thought
Yeah.
I'd have to use it the way I'm using it, but yeah, in physics, I did pay attention in chemistry. I did. Thank goodness.
That's See, I listened more in math than I did in chemistry, so guess I'm in trouble.
Like, how do you do pi? Oh yeah, you have to like figure that and the diameter, and oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, and I love the glass and the beads inside the glass. That's really cool.
Yeah, that was a fun one. And then there's lights all in there and stuff, so it
Very
just makes
cool.
it fun. It makes it a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that sugar flour, from the way I see it, I don't know if it would look like that way, up close, but it reminds me of the like the mesh material gathered fabric type of flowers.
Oh yeah.
So very.
Yeah. Well, Niecy Nash, her signature is this huge flower always in her hair.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so I thought, well, I'm going to put that somehow into this wedding cake of hers, just as a a throw
Mm-hmm.
to her signature.
Uh-huh. Her
So
huge flowers.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's
she loved
cool.
it. She loved it.
Very
So I was
clever.
like, yay. Now this is neon sugar. This is a technique I developed because the lights are so bright on it, you can't really see it, but it actually does glow.
Oh, cool.
All those letters do glow. I put in Chef Rubber's glow sparkle, the glow in the dark glitter, plus some glow powder, and then I took warm pulled sugar and took the glow bracelet sticks that you buy for $1 for your kids. I took the glow bracelet sticks and wrapped sugar around them and rolled it, and and those, the sticks were already cracked. So they were glowing within the sugar, which also had glow stuff in it. So it looked like a neon sign. Because you know how a neon sign has the tube inside plus the stuff on the outside. Well, you can't really, I tried, you can't really create that kind of a tube and the fluorescent air effect that's all that goofy stuff with the actual light. So this is what I came up with instead to give the look of a neon sign and still make it edible.
That is really cool. I like that.
Yeah, it was fun. I was excited when I came up with that idea. Those epiphanies, you're like, wow, cool.
We might have to have you do a special thing on just that. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm sure Ewald Noter, who is probably the godfather of all things sugar, would be like, what the heck is she doing? But I'm known for the weird stuff I like to create out of sugar. Again, I can't sell those big sugar sculptures as much as I would love to. This is the stuff I can sell.
Exactly.
Is the stuff that's supposed to look at like it's out of glass and whatnot. I can make it out of sugar. So.
And hello, steampunk. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
Look at that. That's so cool. I love it.
There's a gal that actually wore this and put the goggles on her face.
Oh, really?
Yes, and she drove at the Kansas City Cake Fest. Drove the biggest and fastest edible car, and they got it in the Guinness Book of World Records. So we created for her a helmet and glasses out of also edible material. It's all modeling chocolate, and then the sugar for the goggles. And she wore it and got the gold, not the gold medal, the world record.
That is awesome. I love that.
It's pretty fun.
Very cool. I love the steampunk look to it.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome. All right, and this is something you've come up with too that I love this.
Isn't that fun? Oh my goodness. This is a marvelous mold. It's the Karen mold. And the way the owner of that company, Dominic, has created his molds is that they're all pi squared. So 3 of his molds will go around a 6-inch round, 4 of them will go around an 8, 5 around a 10, etc. So this is 4 molds around an 8-inch, and that I formed and then fused them together because it's sugar on sugar just by heat. And then it's a sugar tier separator with a light inside, and this whole button lace cake thing. It worked really, really beautiful. Really cool look to it.
Awesome. That is so pretty. I wish we could talk more about it, but we got to move on.
I know we got to wrap up.
This is so cool. I love the idea of this.
This was an R&D project that we did for Chef Rubber. That's molecular gastronomy inside. It's a fully functioning, totally edible lava lamp. So it's sugar as the glass, chocolate as the cap and the base. I guess technically the only thing that's not edible is the light bulb, but you don't see that.
And it actually moves and works?
It moves and works. That is the caviar kit. That's the caviar kit stuff from Chef Rubber. Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that.
Fun. That was a fun thing. It was hard, but that was a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
This is Dale Chihuly style glasswork that's kind of art glass on the top. It matched for a trade show the gal who's right next to it on the mannequin that has an all plastic wear wedding dress. So I've got the tier separators there as a chandeliers, reverse cake, and then the Dale Chihuly style glasswork on top, and then it's all edible disco dust around the sides of the cake.
Very modern. I like that.
Very Vegas. It was in Vegas.
It is.
So.
It is very Vegas.
I had to go Vegas. This is a watch cake that has a 16-inch round piece of Isomalt glass on it that is the crystal. This couple saw my second Ultimate Cake Off where I did a whole bunch of sugar work on that cake, and they asked me when they were in helping to design this watch, because they'd met at a watch store and they both worked for Tourneau watches. They asked if they came up with the idea. They asked if I could make the crystal out of sugar, and I went, oh my goodness.
Awesome.
Let me get back to you on that one. And so I figured out a way to make a mold and pour it perfectly clear and bubbleless, and came out awesome.
That is so cool. I love that.
Isn't that
So
fun?
cool. And just a few more just to, throw in grand
Yep.
finale, I guess.
This is from the second Ultimate Cake Off. Those are pulled sugar magnolias, poured sugar and pulled sugar embellishments on the top there for the glass slipper, which is all sugar, and then the sugar glassware and the sugar Dom Perignon bottle.
Very awesome. So cool. See all the cool stuff you can do with sugar.
I know, so cool. Such fun stuff.
Awesome. And really fast, I know we're running out of time and we want to get just a couple of questions in. I'm so sorry that we have so much cool sugar stuff to show you guys. So really fast, this is the recipe that Charity is going to share with us today. For those of you that really want this recipe, I will be putting it up on our CakeFu blog later on today, so make sure you go and get this. It is gluten-free, so
Yay.
we can't beat, chocolate cookies that are gluten-free. So
And they are chocolatey. If you're a chocoholic, they are for you.
yeah. And you said that you actually make these with ostrich eggs so that
I
so
do.
that the egg allergy is not an issue.
Yep, I make them with ostrich egg white.
Oh, ostrich. Okay, egg white. And so you just substitute the egg whites with, the amount that it would take to make.
Yep. Measure it out, liquid to liquid, and use ostrich instead of chicken because it works just the same, but it doesn't have any of the allergens.
So cool. So anybody that is trying to do, allergy, free cooking, ostrich eggs. I had no idea. I had no idea.
Who knew?
Oh, and okay, so I thought this was just really cool, and I have to throw this in there. Charity's going to be doing a news segment. When is that going to be? Tomorrow,
it's going to be no. It's going to be the Friday before Easter. It's for Easter and about eggs. So I'm doing a cooking segment on our Channel 6 news here in San Diego, and they're trying to get the ostrich farmer I work with to bring an ostrich in studio. They want the actual bird there.
I want to watch that segment.
So I know. Then I'll post it on my website, which is chefcharity.com.
Awesome.
After it airs, I always post the different news segments and cooking segments I do. So you can go on there and see a bunch of the other ones I've done, and the icing smiles cakes I've done too. So anyway, so they want me to open an ostrich egg and show how you open it and how you use it and how you can create and make things with ostrich egg. And I will probably be doing these cookies actually because they're made with just the egg white. So I show how you separate the white and the yolk. And because these are also gluten-free, this is a really awesome one to do for Easter. It's chocolate and it's gluten-free, and then you can make it egg-free. So I will probably be doing these cookies. It's the Friday before Easter, so.
Awesome. So watch for her link. I can't wait to see that.
You and me both, actually.
Sounds like fun. Okay, so questions. We have several. For those of you that haven't asked any questions, you can go ahead and ask your questions. I don't know if we'll get to all of them. We do have quite a few so far. If you're wanting to ask a question and don't know how, there's an Ask a Question box down at the bottom. We'll go through as many as we can, and I hope you guys don't mind that we're going over a few minutes. Okay, so the first one is by Suzanne Osmond. She asks a couple of questions. First, how quickly does Isomalt cool down and set up? And second, which is better to work with a flame heat or an electric heat source?
Oh, good questions. Okay, so how fast Isomalt cools, unfortunately, is kind of a lame answer I'm going to give you, but it's depends on how cool the room is that you're working in, how thick the Isomalt is, but it cools fairly quickly. I mean, and compared to like drying of any other medium, including chocolate, when chocolate has to set up, it's pretty fast. It's pretty quick.
Good.
When you're in a hurry, it's totally the thing to go to.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I know a lot of people that actually adhere stuff with sugar because it
makes great glue for sure. And then the best heat source really is an induction burner. I do go over that in the Craftsy class. A gas flame, you have to do another step. It works just fine, but if you have an induction burner, I'd use it.
Okay, great. All right. She says, "How do you?" This is a good one. I want to know too.
Oh, great.
We have Debbie Beasley asks, "How do you stay so thin working with all these sweets?"
Oh my heavens. I am a taster by nature, not an eater. That and I eat, I graze throughout the day, I run, I have 3 kids I have to keep up with, plus a business. I don't sleep much, which actually is supposed to make you gain weight. But yeah, I go, 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 go. The running joke of my friends is, you know, the movie Up, and how the dog goes, squirrel, that's me. And it's also a joke, like, can you imagine Charity on caffeine? Because I don't eat or drink any caffeine, and they can't imagine me on caffeine because I'm such a spaz already.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, we have, let's see, Claire North asks, if you melt isomalt in the microwave, in what time increments do you heat? Like, say, 30 seconds and 50 seconds? How do you melt it correctly is what I'm trying to ask.
Good question. When it is cold and hard, like if you pour a bag of ice or cake play nibs into a Pyrex, I would start off with like 3 to 4 minutes, because if you go in 30-second increments, you'll be there all day. It's not like chocolate that you have to be kind of careful with. Once it starts getting melted, you want to move it around a little bit. I prefer table knives because then I can scrape it off just fine on the side. I show that in the Craftsy Class too. I like that better than a spoon, because then in the divot of a spoon you get stuck, you know, cold isomalt, and that's kind of counterproductive. Mm-hmm. So then after that you can go in like minute increments and just kind of keep an eye on it. Once it starts bubbling 2/3 of the way down, you know you're right at about 310 degrees.
Okay. What if you're using, you know, the pre-cooked? You don't want do you want to actually cook it that long, or would it be bad to cook it that long if you had the pre-cooked?
No, you want to start off with a good 3 minutes. I know it says otherwise on the package, but I start off with 3 minutes. You know, if your microwave is particularly hot, maybe try 2. But as you get to working with it, you'll get a better feel with your own microwave and whatnot, how fast you can get it melted. You just don't want to be there forever. I'm impatient too, so.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. That's an interesting question. Bunny Roberts asks, can you add the distilled water to the cake play and cook it? Probably maybe to change the viscosity that you were talking about.
That's a good question. You know, I've been explained kind of the process that they go through to make that stuff, and I honestly wouldn't do it.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to try it, go for it, but I really wouldn't do it. To me, it's so much easier just to cook my own and color it, or keep it clear. And again, if you have a mistake and it browns a little bit, like if you had some impurities or you goofed and didn't use distilled water, just color it. I mean, it's not like it's destroyed, just color it. And there's almost no waste in isomalt either, because if it breaks, whatever, just melt it back down and start over. I mean, it's no big deal.
Awesome. Okay. And this will have to be our last question. I'm sorry for those of you that didn't get your questions answered. Let's see. We have Megan asks, how long can you keep the isomalt on a cake before it discolors or changes by the humidity?
For putting it on a cake, one, you don't want to put it on the cake when you're going to be putting it in the refrigerator. You want to place your sugar pieces on the cake after it's sitting at the delivery site. Don't do it before. And always make extra just in case of breakage. Again, you can melt it down afterwards and redo it, no big deal. There's some really great stuff that Chef Rubber sells called food lacquer. And after you've lacquered your pieces like that, they can stay good almost indefinitely, because you've protected them from any humidity, especially like you folks in Florida, Texas, parts of Texas, that kind of stuff. Definitely use your food lacquer, but don't lacquer the part that you're going to want to attach to a cake if you're going to melt sugar to attach it. If you're going to use another, like you use gel paste, no problem. But if you want to use the actual melted sugar, you're not going to really be able to melt through that food lacquer very well. So, but I cover all that in the class too. I
was just going to say that there's a lot of really good information on the lacquer and adhering and melting and all that kind of stuff on the Craftsy thing. So
yeah.
Very good information. Okay, thank you so much for all the good information. Gosh, we've learned a lot.
I'm so glad you had me on. Thank you so much.
I know. Okay, so just really fast, here are some of the classes that Charity's going to be doing in the next little bit. They're all in California, San Diego area, right?
Yep, for now,
So
yes.
for now, all these ones are. So watch for those if you're going to be in the area. If you want more information on her classes and want to keep up with Chef Charity, you can go to her website, chefcharity.com, and your actual professional cake decorating, website that you sell cakes through is the eatdessertfirst.com. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's correct.
Awesome. So if you want to order a cake from Charity, that's where you'll go.
Thanks.
And then also the Craftsy Class. Make sure that you go and check out the Craftsy Class. It really is. I mean, I'm not just saying this because, I'm saying it because I watched it, and I really do strongly believe that it's really good information. So
yes, thank you.
Make sure you go and get Charity's Craftsy video and learn all that you can about sugar. We as sugar artists, we're always looking for something new and great, and sugar is such a wonderful medium for so many things. Like she just, like we've just shown you. So it's go ahead and try it out, and don't be scared. So, and thank you so much, Charity, for coming on. We're so glad to have you on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. I really enjoy the opportunity to be able to spread the word more about sugar. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. And I guess that concludes it for us, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
Have a great week.
Okay, you too. Bye.